So I think we should get some introduction about the YCAP. So I think we should play us some videos so that you could get more about it. Over to you. As well, I want you to play the video so that people would know more about it. Yes, we really want you to change your name as well. I have said again and again, your country name, your community, where you belong. It would be really great. Okay, let's start it. So I hope you have seen a lot of things that what's happening around us. So I think let me share the screen as well. The screen is disabled. Can you just, okay, thank you so much. Okay, can you move towards the next slide? I think it's like stuck somewhere. Okay, so I'm going to welcome our facilitator like Sumaya Subriti. She is an environmental human rights defender protection coordinator and UNDP Bangkok Regional Hub. I really welcome you, and I want you the stage is all over for you. We are going to give you some welcome remarks. Over to you, Sumaya. Sumaya, can you hear us? Yeah. Okay, thank you. The floor is yours.
I'm sorry. Thank you so much, Anum. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Road to COP28 briefing. I'm Soumya from YECAP at UNDP Bangkok Regional Hub. As you've seen in the video already, YECAP aims to create a safe, inclusive, and enabling space for young people to take part in climate action. So recognizing the importance of, global processes like COP for accelerating climate action, we want to ensure that young people from the region are able to contribute meaningfully and engage with the COP processes. The briefing will focus on providing you with necessary information to make the most of your participation, looking at the structure, overview of the agenda topics, as well as the Global Youth Statement, among other things. This would not really be possible without our partners, UNICEF, UNFCCC, RCC Bangkok, Movers Programme, and of course, YOUNGO, who are supporting efforts to ensure youth voices are heard and listened to in decision-making, and most importantly, young people like yourselves who are leading by example. So thank you all for attending, and we hope to hear more from you. Over to you.
Okay, thank you so much. So I am going to introduce our next facilitator, that is like Nicholson Rees, Climate and Environment Program Manager and UNICEF EAPRO. So welcome. Can you give some remarks on this?
Hi there. Hi there. Good morning. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I think it's very important that we have these platforms and these types of meetings, and I think especially this collaboration with YECAP and UNICEF, I think, has been an incredibly important platform for both children and young people to engage more meaningfully in these COP discussions and climate action. As we all know, we're on the eve of COP28, and every COP is important, and often for slightly different reasons. We recently produced a report earlier this year that highlighted the case for children and young people across this region, and we found that children born today in the East Asian Pacific region face about 6 times more frequent climate-related shocks compared to their grandparents. So the criticality of the issue in this region, I think, is very pronounced and very clear. Moreover, the adaptation needs, though, I think, of children in this region is lacking compared to a lot of other parts of the world. So we have a very acute crisis for children in this region, children globally, but focusing on children in this region. UNICEF, we've put together a couple key areas that we think are going to be really important at this COP. One is to influence the global goal on adaptation. Currently, the global goal on adaptation doesn't include all of the sectors, the adaptation needs of all of the sectors that children rely on. It does include some areas on water, sanitation, and health, but we're missing, for example, education needs to be a whole area in the global goal on adaptation. So that's one very concrete area that we think is going to be important. Secondly, we need to increase financing both for adaptation and mitigation. And we don't want financing from mitigation to be diverted to adaptation. We want it to be additional. So we need to increase financing overall and have it directed towards mitigation and have it also directed towards adaptation. Currently, a recent assessment found that only about, I think it was around 2.5% of global climate funding actually targets children. This needs to increase tremendously. So that's the second very concrete area that we want to push at COP. And then the third is, the third area is around loss and damage and making sure that children's needs are reflected in loss and damage structure and the financing mechanism around that is going to be developed at this COP. And the fourth is to integrate children's rights more holistically into UNFCCC processes. In an ideal world, we'd really love to be building the foundations now for actually in a future COP, could be COP30, could be COP31, making one of the future COPs a children's COP. So the degree to which we're positioning that now and getting voices around and a rallying call around a children's COP starting here at COP28, I think will be incredibly important. So those are some of the key areas that we see are going to be incredibly important. But I think that above all, it's the engagement with you guys, it's the engagement with children and young people that I think can really make a difference. And so it's a pleasure to be here and to hear your perspectives on all of this and to work together with you to advance this at COP. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's really nice to meet you. Okay, we are going for the next one, and she is like Pansari Singha, and she is the Senior Climate Change Specialist, UNFCCC IGES Regional Collaboration Center for the Asia and the Pacific. We welcome you. You can give some welcome remarks. The floor is yours.
Thank you, and Anum, it's a
Thank
pleasure
you.
to be here with you all today. So, on behalf of RCC Asia and Pacific, I would like to extend a warm welcome to all the participants of today's session titled Road to COP28 Asia-Pacific Youth Briefing. At the outset, I would like to express my sincere thanks to SIDA for believing in us and providing us this opportunity to be part of YECAP through its one-year grant. I would also take the opportunity to thank UNDP, UNICEF, and other members of YECAP and for their continuous collaboration as partners. I'm reminded of the words of our Executive Secretary Simon Stake, quote, "We are impressed by the tenacity, ambition, and passion that young people continue to show in taking ownership of the climate space," unquote. Hence, we at the UN Climate Change Secretariat and the RCC Asia Pacific are committed to providing support to strengthen synergies in collaboration as we acknowledge the involvement of youth as pivotal in the climate change discourse. One of the many ways of engagement with UN FCCC is with the meaningful engagement and participation of youth in our process, in particular through the regular coordination and collaboration with YOUNGO, the official children and youth constituency. I would like to acknowledge the important role of YOUNGO in empowering children and youth. Additionally, engaging with such platforms as YECAP provides opportunities for raising awareness, creating call to action, and in preparing young climate advocates across Asia and Pacific for larger dialogues and open up doors for amplifying meaningful intergenerational dialogue. In 2023, RCC Asia Pacific organized the Climate Negotiators Training Program, and important topics such as loss and damage, Article 6, nationally determined contributions, ACE, or Action for Climate Empowerment and Capacity Building were covered in the in-person and virtual training sessions, and these materials are available online. Also, during the 79th Commission, we co-organized an event for youth with the UN agencies of the issue-based coalition members for raising ambition on climate action in Asia-Pacific to broaden the outcome. UN Climate Change Secretariat are also working to create more meaningful intergenerational dialogue opportunities at COP and at the regional climate weeks and beyond. I think there's no other better scope for me than today, because we had recently concluded the Asia Pacific Climate Week, to mention that we are thankful to our YECAP colleagues who mainly took the lead in developing Youth for Capacity Pillar 2, which was titled Engaging Youth in Green Jobs at Scale for a Just Transition. They coordinated with partners and conducted a capacity building workshop. We deeply appreciate their high level of engagement, promptness, openness to encouraging all inputs and ensuring that the session remained very youth-led and interactive. Besides, YECAP colleagues actively supported with communications, amplifying the sessions of the youth-affiliated event and engaging participants on site. They were also enthusiastic participants in different sessions. The Youth for Capacity team expresses deep appreciation. We are grateful to the YECAP team, along with other partners, for their unwavering support in making the sessions at Asia Pacific Climate Week a great success and keeping all the youth so engaged. Out of all the sessions at the 4 regional climate weeks, I am informed that this one was the most youth-led and interactive, receiving great feedback from the youth as well. We at RCC Asia Pacific will continue our support for climate action, not only through RCC Asia Pacific, but also join hands with our sister RCCs located across the globe to deliver on UNFCCC's mandates and initiatives. Thank you, and looking forward to the session today.
Thank you so much. It's really nice listening to you. So let's move toward the next one. Okay, Srishti, now it's your time to do. So she is the focal person policy working group and AYE4 COP COP as YOUNGO initiative. And the floor is over to you. So you're going to give her the briefing about the COP28.
Thank you so much, Anam, and thank you to all the partners. I'm Srishti, as Anam has just introduced. I have been working within the climate change space for the last 10 years. I am going to, do my best in briefing on how the COP28, what COP28 would entail, and how we can, as young people, collaborate, engage, lobby, or put in our inputs within the whole COP28 arena. While I'm representing the Asian Youth Empowerment for COP campaign, which is in its first year. It's a YOUNGO initiative, specifically focusing on Asian youth. I'll be also, adding my own learnings and how I myself navigated my first COP. And of course, deriving from those learnings, I'm also going to give you some insights on how you can navigate across COPs, which is a huge, a gathering of people. And this year is going to be historical with about 80,000 people attending COP28. So with those thoughts in mind, I'm here to share. I hope my screen is visible to everyone. Anum, can you give me a hands up?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay.
We all can see.
Okay. Thank you so much. Okay, thank you so much again. And here we go. So always start with my presentation, this particular slide, just to bring our thoughts together on why we have gathered. It's all because of climate change. We are here, we are talking about it, we are young people, not only across the globe, specifically from the Asia Pacific, are walking the talk. They are learning by doing, they are leading by examples in various avenues, whether it is innovation, whether it is technology, whether as Bani just mentioned about coming making it more engaging to with partners and young people at the Asia Pacific Climate Week. So we are trying our best, but of course there are existing inequalities, and the progress which should have been achieved has not been achieved as yet. So how we can we can fill that gap is going to be our objective, and has always been our objective as a young person within this whole discourse. But as you can see, specifically the South Asia, the Asia Pacific region, as per the climate change risk index, is at great risk. And it has also been continuously reinstated through various IPCC reports and policy mechanisms on how children and young generations need to be protected and safeguarded when it comes to climate change. Um, so yes, since we are going to talk a lot about COP28, let me give you a background on how UNFCCC works, and how UNFCCC has been focusing on young people and children over the last many years. So sorry, yes. This is kind of a slide which represents how the history of international climate policy has been. This shows a particular different episodes, I would say, and how the UNFCCC came into picture. Um, there was a first conference by the WMO, then the foundation of IPCC came, then at the Earth Summit in Rio in 1992, it was very rightfully acknowledged, and UNFCCC was adopted in that year. And the main objective of UNFCCC was to avoid dangerous climate change. After that, there have been a lot of after it was ratified, and it came into existence. There have been so many COPs. We are into COP28, and there have been a lot of mandates and protocols which have come across these years. And we are very rightfully at COP28, but there were the main episode, the main agreement which happened was in 2015, which we all know, the biggest achievement for the whole climate change community was at Paris, in the shape of the Paris Agreement. But yes, we have been making progress all through these years with different policy mechanisms, with different agendas across different ambition. But I'll be taking more time to focus on the Paris Agreement. So it was a diplomatic success and a negotiations breakthrough. We all have been reading about it. We all have been knowing about it. I'm not going into the details of it, but I just wanted to give an overview on how the different articles in the Paris Agreement have been placed. I know the national determined contributions were a major milestone where all the countries made voluntary commitments on how they will make the progress towards achieving our collective goal of keeping the temperatures much below 2 degrees through this particular mechanism. Then we also had, mitigation, adaptation, loss and damage. This term was, which is called as a third pillar of UNFCCC and Paris Agreement. So how it could be taken forward, and there were different other mechanisms on how to design solutions when it comes to climate change. But very if we take more of an overview of Paris Agreement, these are the four things which it tried to address. Of course, we have focused on the 1.5-degree gap, keeping it well below 2 degrees, and if we could keep it up to 1.5 degrees. The implementation gap, the Paris Agreement also addresses the implementation gap on how climate actions could kind of address the challenges which are happening on the ground. The loss and damage gap, especially with relation to finance, there was a commitment of 100 billion per year to address the loss and damage which is being experienced by different countries, especially the small island developing states and the LDCs. Uh, Very briefly on the UNFCC structure, I hope I'm not getting very technical, but again, we are just trying to give an overview on how these things work and presenting the facts. Of course, we can always reach out to me or anyone in Youngo. I'll be sharing the details later. But there is a UNFCCC secretariat who manages all the administrative needs on how the convention, progresses. There is, of course, the Conference of Parties, which is the supreme decision-making body for the convention and the Kyoto Protocol and Paris Agreement. Then we have two permanent subsidiary bodies called as Subsidiary Body for Implementation and Scientific and Technological Advice, who consults with different stakeholders to develop initial drafts. These drafts are mostly prepared at the intersessionals and then during Conference of Parties also in parallel, and then the main decisions are made during the plenary sessions at COP with different informal set of meetings with different stakeholders with a lot of consultative processes. And of course, there are many ad hoc groups as well. Very importantly, on your right hand side, you can see the observers. While they are also included most of the times in the consultations, they are responsible for influencing, lobbying, and also representing the voices of the civil society in this entire picture. So, since there are about 200 countries who are part of UNFCCC, so it's very difficult to navigate. It's very difficult to frame a single policy as if you have been involved in the national processes. But when we are talking about 200 countries, we really need a mechanism to come together and group ourselves in a way that our common interests and our common interests are fulfilled. So many countries have grouped themselves based on their own interests, based on, there could be, there are geographical, based on their geography, based on their, aligned, say, for example, mitigation ambition, or for example, the European Union also comes in together and negotiates as one entity. Similarly, India, and there are many overlaps as well, as you can see. I'm not going into the details a little bit. This is a little bit technical, but just providing an overview on how these negotiating groups are placed, and they are able to negotiate at the UNFCCC. Similarly, observers are also grouped based on their own interest and background. Um, there are environmental NGOs, there are business and industry NGOs, then there is research and independent NGOs, and very importantly for this particular target audience, it's the youth NGOs, which is called as YOUNGO. So going on how young people specifically could lobby as observers. But again, why we are doing this lobbying and why is it so important for COP? I mean, I remember asking this question myself when I was at my first COP. But this and UNFCCC is a very comprehensive process. And then there are moments where you can come in and present your interest so that uh, whatever you are focusing on as a young person, as a community, as a country representative at UNFCCC. Um, so how can you particularly put in your interest and engage with with these policy makers is what lobbying is all about. So how can we do that? We can always write to policy makers beforehand, before we are leaving for COP28. We can arrange meetings with them at COP28. We can mobilize other people coming together to kind of present our recommendations and how we want to look at this particular COP decision. We can build alliances with other young organizations, come in with initiatives, and try to bridge the information between the decision makers and the public. A few stories which I wanted to share here was, at the COP27 ACE negotiation, there was this country who was continuously blocking the finance and also the human rights language into the text. As observers, we could see it, and then we had, multiple bilaterals and looked at it from a different perspective. Build alliances with parties who were, supporting this language, and they were also supportive of young people being at the forefront in this particular policy negotiation. And through that we were also able to also with that interest among those stakeholders, we were also able to focus on the key demands in the global youth statement, which I will be talking about later. But we were picking these demands from the global youth statement, and we are trying to provide it to these different stakeholders, so that whatever we were thinking, whatever we had in mind as Youngo, could make into the final text. And also, which is very important at the end of the day for young people, financing for all the ACE activities. I remember Nicholas also mentioning about climate change education and supporting um, you know, young people across Asia Pacific and of course globally on how this could be done at the policy level. It requires a lot of engagements at COP28 as well. So there are lots of tips for lobbying. There is no one mechanism to lobby, but of course we have to keep in mind certain things. We need to be diplomatic. We need to keep talking. We need to be very thorough with our research. We need to have people support, especially coming from the same geographical background with similar interests, and that is why the groups and alliances are very important. So this was very brief on how we could kind of put in our demands and inputs at COP28, and this lobbying sometimes works, sometimes doesn't work, but of course with right mechanisms we will be able to focus on how we can support our policymakers in getting the text, or looking at the change we all want to see. So for this particular COP28 specifically, how we can engage. I have been talking about a lot of stakeholders which are part of the COP process. There are country delegates, which we also mention as on party delegations, national delegation also we mentioned. Then there is ministry representatives, head of delegations, there is media, there is environmental NGOs, researchers. These are different stakeholders which are present at COP28. But how can they be identified? They could be identified by the color of their badges. The pink badge is more is the party representative. They're part of the national delegation. There is also a party overflow badge. Which means that they are part of the country delegation, but they are not the negotiators per se. They are not allowed to negotiate, but they are allowed to support with different, national initiatives, or, for example, giving technical support at the country pavilions or something. Then we have UN organizations, observers with the blue strip. Then we have intergovernmental and organizations with green strip as observers. Then we have observers with a yellow strip, which forms the biggest group when it comes to you know um, observing. Observers means as observers we observe the UNFCCC process, but also try and lobby, as I mentioned in my last slide. But this forms one of the biggest groups at UNFCCC's COP COPs, and of course it would be. I hope there would be a bigger a delegation of observers at COP28, and then there is media with the orange strip. Very briefly on how the cops are cops work as when you are part of the you know any of these delegations. There is a blue zone where there are negotiations happening. There's media and press, and then there is official UNFCCC accredited side events. Then there are country offices and pavilions. Then there are official exhibits. On the left-hand side, you can see the green zone. You must have heard about the green zone. It's open to the public and the local, especially the local communities, and it doesn't require any particular accreditation from UNFCCC. But yes, this year it requires daily passes, and the link is already there. But I could share it later. I think I have added it in my presentation as well. And then there are off-site events as well. Sometimes there are some events happening later in the evening where in maybe conference halls totally different from the venue. So but there are some engagements happening. There are some networking dinners which also happen. So but of course these two don't require any kind of badges from UNFCCC, but the blue zone will require accreditation so that you can access the space and be part of those negotiations. I've already, I think, mentioned about how you can identify different actors. This goes more in detail on how these badges work and what does it signify. I will be sharing the presentations later so you could have a look at it, but I've already explained this in my previous slide. But again, coming back to where as young people you can engage. So of course in the negotiations of course it requires some technical understanding beforehand, but you can always engage in the plenary, in the informal consultations and informals which happen as part of the blue zone. You can always, the youth NGOs, Youngo has a place when it comes to has a place to intervene during these plenaries, and you could contribute to the designing of these interventions or be there as part of the community, youth community, and put in your voice there. Then there are bilaterals with different delegations, representatives, where you can always come up with your inputs and demand. Of course it's a joint initiative, so we will have to always contribute and present it as Youngo, as on behalf of youth NGOs. There are other, as I have already mentioned, there are technical workshops, there are side events, there are exhibitions where these are tools which help influence policies and decisions, and they complement. For example, there is a case study if it is presented at the side event. There are adaptation gap reports, there are mitigation gap reports which are presented by the by the UN at these side events, and the results of these are always come into the negotiation rooms and help people negotiate on the policy drafts which are being developed. So these are all designed to complement the policy discussions which happen. Then there are actions, there are press conferences, there are interviews through which you can engage, and of course make your point, make your voices heard at these COP. Of course, there are informal and non-traditional opportunities as well. You come across people in the lobby, you are in the cafeterias, you are having small NGO meetings, huddles outside of the rooms. Of course, I talked about the networking dinners and receptions where I've also try to um, collaborate with different stakeholders, especially party stakeholders, to understand, from what point they're coming on, what has been their policy position, and where you can plug in your inputs. And because of all this, because of years of lobbying and years of putting our demands, COP27 had seen major progress when it came to youth participation. In the cover decision, it was significantly mentioned. It significantly mentioned about the children and youth pavilion. It also mentioned about how youth and children should be part of the national delegation. It was also very prominently it also very prominently mentioned the facilitating of financial support for implementing the you know annual conference on youth and youth-led dialogue forum. Coming to this year's agenda and logistical information, so there is a thematic program which is already out. You can always go to the website and look at it. So there are significant days. For example, the most important day for us is the 8th December, which is the Youth, Children, Education and Skills Day. The first 2 days after the opening day, the December 1 and 2 is called is significantly where the world leaders are going to come, and they will be talking about what pledges they are making for COP28. There could be some a lot of security these 2 days. Let me just give you a warning that there were a lot of security because of the world leaders coming in. But yes, the other days the negotiations will continue, and the different tracks which have been fixed for those days. It would be the events and exhibits would be more or less talking about that. So these are the COP28 thematic days, and the side events and thematic tracks are also very much aligned, I would say, with the thematic days. But of course, there are a few changes here and there. And as you can see, youth, children, education, and skills finds a lot of places here. So you can see how you can engage on those particular days and look at events and networking opportunities where you can or maybe opportunities where you can build your own capacity if you are at COP. So I have already talked about the blue zone and the gray zone. This is how it looked like at COP27. But very importantly, I remember when I was at my first COP, which was COP26, it was so difficult to navigate because I had no idea where to go to. And I think I lost track of time. There were 2, 3 places where I was supposed to be at that particular time. And because of this whole navigation, um, the first days was a chaos for me. So learning from that experience, I wanted you to be very much aware of the blue zone map, and always look for the maps once you enter on your first day, especially in your first couple of days, and also understand and prepare yourself on on what time, what date, and in which meeting you are supposed to be. And I would really recommend that you start you know start your journey towards that particular room half an hour ahead, because the COP venues are huge. And because this is going to be in Expo City, it is going to be bigger than Egypt. So, and with 80,000 people, it is going to be, I am assuming it would be more difficult. So I would like you to keep a very, keep these maps handy so that you can easily navigate and be where you want to be as part of your own agenda or your organization's agenda. So this is a blue zone map which has already been published. There's a metro station. These are the blues you can see are the negotiation rooms, and then there is a huge patch of different things which are happening. Um, so in the first area, as I talked about, in plenary informal meetings and huddles happen within the meeting rooms, and thankfully it is just on the starting of the venue. Then the side events, which look like this, are going to happen in this. You can see the circle on the right hand side are going to happen. Are going to happen here. A closer look of this site is this, and then you can always go to, if you're holding any side event, or your partner or organizations are holding any side events, you can always coordinate via this office, which is placed right in the center of this side event area. Then, as you must have already known about, pavilions and exhibits which happen, a lot of them were there at Egypt, and I'm assuming it would be bigger this year. So these pavilions also host a lot of events. They happen in parallel, and there are many things to engage. So being mindful of that, I've also put together a map where it's just beside the exhibits area is going to be just beside the side events area, and if you remember the blue zone map which I just showed, the side event area is going to be here. and the exhibits are going to be here. So as I've already talked about the different actions which happen, there are significant days also on which the entire observer community comes together, which is called the Climate Action Day, and this would come very closer to COP and is announced through various channels. But yes, there are actions too which happen. This is a CAN led action. It's called Fossil of the Day, which happens every day, and it has its own ways of and putting the voices of the civil society, environmental NGOs specifically, coming together to lobby in this way is what it looks like. This is a press briefing which Youngo had organized at the SB58. Of course, I had just shown you the blue zone map, which is colored, which you can see in blue color here. But there is also a green zone map entirely here, green zone which is accessible to everyone. But let me remind you again, it has daily passes. So please, if you want to be there on a specific day, please make sure that you have registered for that particular day. But thankfully, it is just in front of the green zone. So last year it was a bit, it was at a distance from the blue zone, so people were not able to kind of engage if they already had engagements in the blue zone. But this year it is going to be just in front of blue zone, so it would be more accessible. But yes, you need to register to access the green zone. Generally, the blue zone, I mean, if you have badges from UNFCCC, you don't need any specific registration process, but considering the high volume of people who are going to be at COP28, the daily passes have come. These are some important links. While I have talked about side events and exhibits, but what is their specific schedule, how you can register for the green zone, and how you can attend the different side events. I have put these links here, and there is a very prominent and very well developed observer handbook, which will give you all the necessary information you require to engage at COP28. A typical day for a young person, this is just an example, especially how Youngo coordinates meetings. The morning coordination meeting starts, then there is a constituency meeting, then 10 o'clock there is interventions drafting, based on the negotiation, specific agenda which runs through that particular day. Then there are different working groups meeting. Then there are many people who track different negotiations. In the second half, mostly there are press interviews, there are bilaterals, and during the later in the evening there are plenary sessions. Of course, Youngo also creates a lot of content on social media to lobby for different policy priorities. And then there are actions on the next day. Actions which I had showed had to be planned the day before so that they can happen the next day. And then there is dinner, and then there are different receptions which happen later, post dinner. So this is kind of a typical day. It is very busy and very comprehensive. So you need to really gear up for that if you are planning to be active in these spaces. Lastly, on my agenda is the Global Youth Statement. You know how Youngo organizes, local conferences of youth. It's a bottom-up model of Youngo. This year, there were about 105 plus local conferences of youth which happened, and then there were regional conferences of youth, which I'm going to talk about later in my presentation, just in a few minutes. So Youngo, I've already talked about, is one of the youth-focused, civil society constituency. Um, Among the 9 constituencies, official constituency of the UNFCCC. 2011, we got a constituency confirmation. It has a flat structure. It mainly runs on consensus, and the mission is very clear. Of course, while we need people to policy lobby and advocacy, there's a lot of awareness, knowledge, and capacity building which happens around the year. We collaborate also, we cooperate and network, and then there are a lot of youth actions which happen. So mainly the policy lobbying the COP is only for 15 days, and then there are intersessional and other intersessionals which happen in June, which is for 15 days. But around the year, we have to continuously do these processes so that we can do what we actually want to do and advocate for our advocate for our inputs and recommendations. So how the global youth statement comes into picture, because the local youth, how this is a mechanism where local youth can also make their voices heard at the global level. So what happens is there are a lot of local conferences of youth which happen in different countries. This year it was 100 plus countries, and then there is a conference of youth happens just before COP. In the middle, regional conferences of youth also happen. It is a mechanism to bring together inputs from various countries and various regions at the conference of youth, and then a global youth statement is prepared, which is presented to the COP28 presidency. So these are pictures of the local conference of youth India last year, which I led, and then these is how conference of youth COI 17 glimpses of COI 17, and then from all these inputs, a global youth statement was presented at the COP 27 based on the different considerations which came from this entire process. So GYS has a very specific methodology. There are working group inputs, which YOUNGO works across working groups. It's an adaptation working group, ACE working group, finance, nature, many others you might have known. I'm not going to give the details because I have maybe just 5 minutes more. There are institutional inputs. There is individual input also. There was an open Google form through which the inputs were connected. I've already talked about how the regional conferences of youth bring together different regional stakeholders and submit a statement at the regional level. And then there are local conferences of youth which happen at the country level. And then there's a policy team working round the clock to collate all these inputs, synthesize it, and through policy hackathon, prioritize it, and then it is finalized. So the condensed version is of the global youth statement for COP28 is already out. It's already out. It is a key policy document for lobbying. Especially at YOUNGO interventions, at bilateral meetings, you can always pick it up and share. This has been developed by YOUNGO, which has more than 10,000 members, and it is the main constituency which talks about young people. So you can scan this code and get the global youth statement, which specifically, talks about many thematic, progresses which we are forcing. But I could remember the global goal on adaptation, the doubling of adaptation finance. Then we have a finance for ACE related work. Of course, we are lobbying for the loss and damage fund as well, which was introduced at COP27. And there are many details which you can go through if you want to look at the demands. And then you can always, whenever you are talking to different stakeholders, you can use these demands, which is the efforts of so many young people across the globe. So yes, YOUNGO, I'm sure there would be many members here already part of YOUNGO. And as I have mentioned, that Asian Youth Empowerment for COP is a new initiative focusing on the Asian youth, mobilizing people from the Asia Pacific to contribute to these discussions, spotlighting the challenges which the Asian youth are facing. It's still at a very nascent stage, but we are trying to have key moments and key events at COP28. You can follow us via different platform. I4COP has only an Instagram account for now, but we are trying to build more platforms to engage. Lastly, I wanted to say that when we are talking about climate change, policy is just one mechanism to address climate change, which is, of course, the largest mechanism to address this climate crisis. But there are many other ways to, contribute to climate change. The one is, you can research, you can work at the implementation level, build the capacity of communities, be the voice of the marginalized. You can have climate awareness sessions. You can always work on different actions. You can work with your government to uh, help them it's with the climate change efforts they are already doing. So there are many other mechanisms. Policy is just one mechanism, and it of course is the largest one, but it's not the only mechanism. So I just wanted to remind you of that. So yes, we can take some question and answers if they are here, and over to the facilitator. I don't know if we want to take questions right now or we want to take it later. But yes, I'm happy with any of this.
Okay, thank you so much, Ishti. That was so amazing. I really enjoyed listening to you. More of the thing that I really don't know about the COP and all the processes, especially green zone, blue zone. I have tons of questions, and most of the thing you have really cleared me. And thank you so much. And I think we should share the slide, then we could know the proper format as well. Could you going to share the slide, please? Okay, before moving forward, we really want you to open up your camera so that we could take some of your beautiful photos. Everyone, please. I think as well, you should stop sharing the screen so that I could like take the photo of everyone. Thank you. So everyone, just open up your cameras. If you want to do some of the pose that you love, you can. You can make the heart on, the big one or the small one, anything that you wanted. Oh my God, there are so many beautiful faces. Okay, I'm going to take the picture. So on 3, 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to take the click. So smile, everyone. Okay, thank you. Just give me a second because I'm going to take 2 to 3 photos because we have a lot of people over here. Okay, this one is the first one. And for the second, okay, everyone, just smile. Thank you. Just a bit more. Just give me 1 second so that I could like save. Okay. Thank you, everyone. You all are amazing. Okay, well, you can now share the slides so we could move forward. I hope you all are enjoying and learning a lot. Okay, we can move towards the next slide. Okay, we have the Q&A session. So over to you, Srishti, if there are a lot of like queries might be people are having. So you can ask, you can open up your mic or you can write in the chat box. Okay, someone just asked about could you please share the observer handbook? I'm not sure that. Okay,
I'm
okay.
sharing all the links in the chat box. Give me 2 minutes.
Okay, she is sharing. So if you have any more question, the floor is totally open right now. So we have a limited time. So everyone, if you have question related to COP or anything, it would be great. You can ask her right now. And I'm really happy that today, by chance, I had a chance like to facilitate this session and learn more about it because I was really confused. Like I had been searching for the COP for a long time, but I was not getting anything. I never know that there was a blue zone, green zone that we could go and like apply or some by different means. I really searched a lot. I just missed this time, but I was really happy that I had learned more. Than I'm going to study more on this. So anyone have any questions? So you can ask right now, like, um, because we are having a limited time, we have to move towards our next sessions too. Okay, she just shared the handbook. Those who were asking about that handbook, it would be like really helpful for you all. Okay, I think we should move towards the next as if anyone is having some kind of a question, they can write in the chat box. So we are going to connect with the next session. Okay, I think it's full. You can move towards the next slide. Okay, okay, fine. Yeah, you're totally free. You can write in the chat box. We can. Okay, we had some of the questions. So, what do you anticipate for the new global stake session this coming COP? I think, Srishti, this is over to you.
Yes. Thank you so much, Terry, if I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Yes, global stocktake is one of the very important negotiation topics this year at COP28. And there is a youth stocktake process which YOUNGO is also leading. While global stocktake, I remember from UNSCCA's focal point, she said that it's not very difficult. It's just that what we had thought, whether we have achieved or not. And although the process is a bit comprehensive, as I said, there are 200 countries coming together to, do such kind of discussions and come up with a common, draft. So it becomes a little comprehensive because of the scale. But of course, with the global stock day, we will see how far we have achieved, and then based on that report, which is going to come very soon, probably before COP28 or during its initial days, we will have lots of discussions, and we will need a lot of lobbying around global stocktake. I think we remotely know what kind of results will come, because we have not made that much progress as we had anticipated through the Paris Agreement. But it's going to be very interesting, and we hope that the youth stocktake process is also, the report is also ready, and you would see how in this whole climate change, UNFCCC arena, youth have been able to contribute to these policy processes.
Okay, thank you. I hope you understand. Okay, I just have one question because I just remind of the question because I had in a lot of groups. Someone just asked in that group how to be an observer. Like, I think there are a lot of you have mentioned an organization are doing that. So how, if some startup or some organization want to be like an observer and want to be at that point? So can you answer on this? I might be a good or bad question. I really don't know,
No, no, no.
but
Let's
I just
continue.
asked.
No, no, no. No question is a silly question. It's just that how everyone has a question regarding something. So even I still I'm in a learning phase. So
Yeah, yeah.
So observer registration process is a very comprehensive process.
Okay.
It's led by the UNFC Secretariat. There is a specific process where to submit documents. There are background checks which happen, and once those background checks happen, the approval comes, then you get the observer status.
Okay, okay, okay.
It takes a bit of time. It's a long
Yeah, yeah.
process. It's a tedious one, but you can
Okay.
always see if you are uh, you know, uh, if you're eligible to kind of do that process, and it will take some time, but there are many observer organizations. The list is also available at UNFCCC. You can get some help from the already registered
Yeah,
observer
yeah, yeah, yeah.
organization.
Hats over to you. Thank you so much. So I think there is increasing questions on the involvement to the stakeholder. There is a okay. I think do we have some more question? Anyone want to ask anything else? The floor is open right now. If not, then we are going to move towards our next slide. Okay, we have some ice breaking session. Like, what is your favorite zero waste swap? The first question. And what is your go-to resource for the climate knowledge? So, anyone want to share anything? The floor is open. You can like write in the chat box, or you can open up your mic and speak up on this. Like anything you want to say. So, what is your favorite zero swap waste? We are making a lot of progresses in our life, and we really don't know that we are making messes. We are like not working on the reduction of the pollution or anything that is going to harm the environment. So what are your perspective? What do you think that if I swap this thing with this, that might be zero? Like most of the people, their plastic bag, that is the most thing that I feel in my area. A lot of people use the plastic bag, and I really want to swap with that the dissolvable, or you can biodegradable bags, or some kind of, you can say that cloth made bags. It would be really great from my side. I really think that it should be implemented, and most of our area, it is like our initiatives, our people are trying to do that so that we could reduce it. Okay. uh, okay, huh. Yes. So anyone want to share anything? Like I shared my perspective, it would be great if you could share yours. Okay, check out the website. Okay, we are going to check out this, but I really want anyone to speak up. We have some question. I think how COP28 delegate could be neutral for the confirmation toward attending the cause. Also, it's important. Climate action. I think Shishti could explain it a little bit. Okay, anyone have any question? You can say, like, you can write anything that you think. Like, there are a lot of people in this room, so why are you not speaking? Just speak out. If you're not going to speak over here, then how you're going to like participate in COP or LCOI or RCOI? Okay, what is the year to be? I think my people are all over the world. They are sleeping. Just wake up, people. We need your like presentation. You have to speak something. Okay, okay, I think we should move forward. If someone want to say something, then they can going to say. Hasbul, can you move towards the next slide? Okay, we are going to have some of breakout session. So we are going to have some of the thematic areas and some of the question. Can you move towards the next slide, please? Okay, we have some thematic area that might connect with you on your daily life or by any perspective. The first one is grief jobs and just transitions and loss and damage. The third one is the global stake. And the fourth is climate adaptation and mitigation and the climate resilience and climate governance. This might be connected with you or with not you, but you have seen in your daily life. So by any means, you can connect it with, and we are going to move towards the next slide, please, as well, so that we could connect these both thematic areas with the questions. Okay, we have three of the question you can discuss in the breakout rooms. The first one is, what are the challenges that young people facing in your country? What are the most looking forward to at the COP? And what is your lobbying strategy for the COP28? So these are the questions that might be related with you. So we are going to go in the breakout room, and you can join any of the breakout room, whatever you want. You can discuss over there, and after you coming back, we are going to know what you have discussed in your breakout rooms.